returned to the court on Friday and then immediately left the court on Friday. Injured his knee. He'll be out at least the next 3 weeks with an MCL sprain. Same injury he suffered in the 2016 playoffs. Steve Kerr spoke last night on Steph's timetable to return.
No, there's no way he's playing the first round. And we also know that Steph has a history of coming back strong from injuries. So there's a good chance if all goes well, he comes back during the playoffs at some point, and we're at full steam.
Mentally, for me, staying positive, staying upbeat. Hopefully, I prove what Coach said wrong and put myself in a position to get back as soon as possible. But right now, who knows? Just try to do my job in the rehab process and get back as soon as I can.
All right, Chris, we talked about the Warriors being concerned, but getting knocked out in the first round, that's a different level of concern.
I wouldn't pick them to get knocked out in the first round, but I do think they should be very concerned because they're a totally different team without Steph Curry. That's reason number one. They play at a much slower rate. They win by a much smaller margin. They score far fewer points. Even with Kevin Durant, they play a whole different style. When Steph is not out there and the fluidity, all that movement is gone. And it is Kevin Durant making the plays and playing great, but making the plays. And they look like a lot of other teams where your one best player is the playmaker, he's the scorer, and all of that. And so I just will say they should be concerned because of that, and also because the competition in the West is stiff. They could get San Antonio with Kawhi Leonard. That's a big if for him to come back, but with Kawhi Leonard. They could get Minnesota with Jimmy Butler. They could get a New Orleans team that's been playing well, a Utah team that's been as hot as anyone in the second half of the season. I mean, Oklahoma City, which we know will be a highly emotional series. And I'll say this, too. You say, well, they still got 3 All-Stars. With all due respect to Draymond Green, who is tremendous, and I think will be a Hall of Famer because of the success of this team and his importance to the team. Take him away from Steph Curry and the way they play with Steph, and he's not as impactful. Klay Thompson, who is tremendous. Again, I think he'll be a Hall of Famer. But take him away from Steph Curry, and I don't think he's as impactful because they play a whole different style and way. So I don't know that those two will be as good as they are without Steph as they are with him to give Durant the type of support he needs.
I mean, I feel for Draymond and Klay. They're just going to have to make do with just the second best player in the world as a teammate instead of the second and third best player. No, he's not the same playmaker. And while I agree Draymond's offense without Steph wouldn't be the same, I think Draymond's the best defensive player in the sport. I thought he should have won 3 consecutive Defensive Player of the Year awards. I know Kawhi won. He came in second 2 years in a row to Kawhi, and then he finally broke through last year and won it. Here's the thing. You got Kevin Durant. You have 2 other All-Stars, 2 other excellent role players, 2 other Hall of Famers in Klay and Draymond. To me, you have, without Steph, you have a second-best player, another top 15 guy, and another top 25 guy in Klay and Draymond. And you have home court. You got to go and win first round. We saw this team, by the way, with those 2 guys playing second and third role, with David West, Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston as your key role players, rotational centers. Instead of Zaza and JaVale, it was Andrew Bogut and Maurice Spates and Festus Ezeli, but it was rotational centers. We saw that team win a title and then win 73 games, be up 3-1 in the finals, with Steph Curry in the role that now Kevin Durant's going to have to play. There is no excuse on Durant's end if they do not win in the first round. Now, if we find out Steph can't come back, and they're in the Western Conference Finals and Steph's still not there, I will not blame Durant heavily if they lose to Houston, because I think Houston's, well, I mean, when I say blame,
but
no, my point is, whenever
a team loses, to some degree.
Right, whenever a team loses, even like, I didn't blame LeBron heavily when they lost in the finals last year, but it's better to win, you know what I mean? And so, but Houston's awesome. So if they get to Houston and they don't have Steph and they lose, I understand it. But I want to say one other thing about this particular injury. Because all injuries in sports suck. And it's better if everyone's fully healthy, every team going into the playoffs, right? But that's never the case in the NBA. My big bet against Warriors this year, my big concern on the Warriors was, man, at some point the injury luck's got to run out. They have had 3 years running, of spectacular injury luck with their opponents having what I would consider bad injury luck go against them. But the other point is this.
Remember, Steph had this injury, though, 2 years ago.
Steph had this injury 2 years ago, and in his first game back scored 17 points in overtime. And bellowed, "I'm back." And then all of a sudden, when LeBron shut him down in the finals, everyone's like, Steph wasn't 100%. Neither here nor there. My point is this.
It's here.
There is a reason the Warriors were able to sign Kevin Durant. Because Steph Curry was making $11 million. Why? Was he on a rookie deal? No. Why? Did people think he wasn't a star? No. Why was he making that little bit of money? Because the team was concerned about his long-term health, about his ankles, about if his body could hold up. The Warriors last year got the best of all worlds. They got the benefit of having a potentially injury-prone superstar because they got him on a cheap contract, allowed them to bring in the second-best player in the world. And then the whole reason they had got Steph on that contract, injury risk, he never got hurt again. The ankles were fine for you. At some point, that bill becomes due. At some point, the reason you were able to get Kevin Durant was because there was concern about Steph Curry's health. Well, listen, Steph's a great dude, and I feel badly that he's hurt, and it sucks to miss part of the playoffs. But this is the reason that you were able to sign Kevin Durant. The reason your job got so much easier is because the team was like, how healthy is he going to be? It's not shocking. It's not Gordon Hayward breaking his leg, right? When the Celtics, they had no reason to worry about that. Gordon Hayward breaking his leg is a freak thing out of nowhere that wrecks the season. Steph Curry getting hurt, when you sign him to his first extension because you're worried he might get hurt a lot, that's not shocking.
He had been healthy for, several years. As far as the ankles, they had really not been a concern. It was the MCL, which was a freak injury a couple years ago when he skidded on the floor against Houston. In
Donatas Montevideo sweat.
Yeah, exactly. But you're getting mystical. That bill is due. And
I'm not saying I'm not using the word karma because that sounds like Steph deserved it. I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying is you mentioned he'd been healthy. That was doubling down on or splitting tens at the casino. Like, okay, you can do that, but you don't deserve to win that hand. Like the Warriors got Durant because Steph was on a cheap contract because of injury, and the guy never got hurt again.
Yeah.
And this is a Warriors team that, without Steph, isn't going into the first round full strength. KD, Dre, and Clay are all coming off nagging injuries, are all not 100%. So you wonder if this sets up an opening for the Cavaliers to come in.
Look, this is what you said it. Injuries, you said always, I think. I'm going to say injuries oftentimes play a huge factor in championships. Golden State's first title. Kyrie and Kevin Love are out. They win the championship. Magic Johnson's last title. I don't know that they win that if Isaiah Thomas doesn't mess up his ankle in Game 6, and then he really can't do anything in Game 7.
Golden State's title last year. Kawhi's injury.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Michael Jordan's first title. Byron Scott and James Worthy hampered throughout the series by injury. So these things happen, and this is why there's this narrative that's grown throughout the regular season that LeBron doesn't think he can win a championship, so he's trying to do these great things individually. I don't know if you ascribe to it, but these great things individually so that becomes his argument in the GOAT conversation with Michael Jordan. But I say, if you're the best player in the world, you never feel like you can't win it. And I think LeBron does have this mentality that you always have to be confident. He has got to be looking at this situation saying, man, they don't look full strength. Let me get there. Let me get there, and you never know what can happen. So I do think there's a good chance Cleveland should get through the East, I think, fairly easily. But they should get through the East, and then you never know. What if you face Houston? Because I think Houston, it might be 50-50 right now. With all the injuries in the West.
Houston v. Golden State.
With Golden State, yeah, 50-50 Houston, Golden State. If Houston gets there, LeBron James is looking at two stars who've never been on that stage, who have had their issues in the clutch in the playoff moments, a coach who's had issues in the playoffs as well. He's got to be ultra confident then. He's got to be ultra confident against Golden State, a hamper Golden State. So I hope that's LeBron's mentality that, look, let's get there, and then I'll carry us home.
And it's also nice, if you're the Cavs, to have the one star in this league that you know doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Top 7 players
That
in the
makes it
league.
even more
Top
amazing.
7 players in the league. 6 of them have been injured this year. Giannis, the Brow, KD, Steph, Harden. I'm leaving somebody out. Kawhi. They've all been injured this year. This guy's never missed a playoff game.
Lillard. We can keep going.
Go down the list of guys missing time this
Careful,
year.
we're getting so close to a jinx. I know you don't believe in it, but
I don't believe in jinxes, and this guy's not getting hurt.
He's trying to throw one.
I mean, honestly, is there something wood to knock on?
It's amazing. The guy's never missed a playoff game, and he took a couple weeks off his first year back in Cleveland to work on some maintenance, but it's never been like LeBron James out with a twisted ankle or a torn hamstring. And so the position they're in is, here's what the Cavs know, and it's what, I feel like I've known all year. The reason that I've never wavered. They will be in the finals, and they will have the best player in the finals. We'll see who they're playing. We'll see how beat up they are. We'll see how Houston's playing, Golden State, if Portland shocks the world. But what we know, what we've known for the last 8 years, is LeBron will be in the finals, and his team will have the best player. Always going to have a shot.
I was trying to save you, LeBron, but no. I was trying to help you.
He'll be healthy.
Coming up, can the Cowboys keep pace with the rest of the NFC? That's next on First Things First.